Ladies and gentlemen, today, I will be reviewing an album which has a significantly lower amount of recognition in comparison to albums by other quote-unquote heavy metal bands that I have reviewed. But generally speaking, metal bands never exceed the sale levels of today's modern pop acts or even rap or country singers. Such a shame, but there's maybe only a few bands who get up to that level, but more than half of those bands are not even new ones. They play a style of metal that is known as grindcore, a possibly harsher and more feral form of death metal. The name of the band is Waking the Cadaver. Their debut album, which I will be reviewing today, is called Perverse Recollections of a Necromangler. I've actually only heard of this band from watching another video here on YouTube who bashed the band themselves. To start off, they don't look like a metal band. They instead look like a quintet of posers. At least 3 of these guys should have hair longer than armpit height. Or, in other words, longer than pectoral length. And what are these? Pardon my preferential persuasion, but this frat boy getup automatically disqualifies them as a true metal band. I mean, at least try and make yourselves look like a reflection of the style of music you play. If I were to come across this picture by searching up bands in Google or some website, I'd keep it in my peripheral vision, and never click any such links in relation to the band. Here's another picture of them. If they were to come up to my house saying they are a metal band, I'd tell them to turn right the fuck around, and perhaps I'll dial the cops. And I get it, a lot of bands don't really like to dress up for their poster and pictures or even their concerts, but this is just not appropriate at all. And they're from New Jersey. It seems nothing but bullshit comes from New Jersey these days. Maybe they should relocate to somewhere further from the ocean shore. That way, more proper music can be written and released. The cover art for this album is at an angle just like that one Nickelback album. The finish of the actual concept has too much of a comic edge for such music. Here are the names of the tracks, in case you were wondering. Always Unprotected, Raped, Pillaged, and Gutted, Connoisseurs of Death, Type A Secretor, Tire Iron Implosion, Blood Splattered Satisfaction, Pigtails are for face fucking, Chased Through the Woods by a Rapist, and lastly, I Know the Insides of Women. You're probably picking up homeless or neurologically discoordinated women if you are making shitty music such as this. I'm just saying. And this entire album tops up at only 26 minutes. So, this is their first record. In this stage of a band's career, typically, their aim would be to make a strong impression, in order to make their creation one of success, and one that generates, not only sales, but a serious following, in which the listeners become hooked, and will keep an eye and ear out annually, or biannually, for every successive album they write, record, and release. 26 minutes of music. Is that seriously all there is that this band can offer? That constitutes to an extended play LP in most cases, and I've heard some bands releasing EPs that extend up to 40 minutes, or longer. Going into the music, it can be summed up as frequently very boring. It's driven by an original and underdeveloped riffs and a vocal performance that is terribly pulled off. The drumming is full of mismatched blast beats and tom and snare drum rhythms that don't impress as far as speed goes. It has flat production that's completely uncaptivating that happens to include 2 dialogue samples from the movie Taxi Driver from 1976. That's a wonderful movie. That said, it does nothing to enhance my liking of the music. More on the vocals, it's a mismatch of low guttural growling that sometimes resorts to manual distortion during the recording in order to render that effect, but I can hear that he cups the receiver of the mic during those parts, so the actual results come off quite inauthentic. There are parts where the lyrical content becomes more clear, but it's there and then that I just hear a lousy impression of Chris Barnes or any of the other death metal originators. So how the fucking hell am I supposed to interpret there being any narrative to any of these songs? Here are the lyrics for the 4th song, Type A Secretor. Sluts and whores. These filthy girls want me in their mouths. I deny it first, just to hear them burst, and beg for satisfaction. I try and seem to not know what they mean. To create a type of distraction. She grabbed my cock, so I grabbed my Glock. And this shit's gotten fun. And she knows my dick tastes so much sweeter when she's staring down the barrel of a full loaded gun. Oh my god babe, I'm gonna blow. I'd read the lyrics for many other death metal songs, and each one of them had read more intelligent than the ones here on the screen. That includes Cannibal Corpse. There's an interlude after this track which ruthlessly contains a bubbling noise with one of the band members laughing about someone being burned. It's absolutely pointless. It only trudges on with generic death metal or grindcore riffs and recycled tempo transition moments, all results being sufficiently mediocre. No excitement to be delivered. The only song with a halfway decent riff is Blood-Splattered Satisfaction, but those shitty vocals persist and render the song ineffectual. Chased Through the Woods by a Rapist has another moment, where the vocals become somewhat audible, but it sounds like somebody shitting in a toilet rather than some possessed tyrannical entity. It also has that line that sounds like he's chanting shredded wheat over and over again. How on earth can a band find musical output like this satisfying? After about 10 minutes from having heard the whole album, I can't remember any of it. You can't even call it one of those so bad it's good albums, because it's not even fun to listen to. Even joke and parody bands have better and heavier riffs than what's found here. To everybody watching, do yourself a favor and don't bother listening to Waking the Cadaver. They are nothing more than a bullshit band, which is confirmed by their more recent album, released in 2010, 3 years after this one, Beyond Cops, Beyond God. Waking the Cadaver lugs balls in their mouths.